All right. So I was just going to ask whether you guys feel like you're filled in on sort of the latest status of the Oracle system, the Oracle LRS Geomedia deployment, and the status of the data development efforts going on more with GIC than me, but that are going on. Do you guys feel like you're up to date on that stuff, or
you're speaking almost entirely a foreign language at the moment to me?
Really? Oh God.
Yeah, I know almost nothing.
That's okay. Well,
and I've been sitting in on those meetings with GIC, so CIG.
Okay. Okay. Well, at least you know what's going on with the data development, I guess.
Yeah.
So, all right. Let me just back up and take you back to that big meeting we had in November where I went through the system design.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, HPMS folks were there too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
okay.
Pretty much everybody in DRISI that has an interest in this stuff was there.
Right.
And what I did is I went through the basics of what this deployment of an Oracle database that will store geospatial data that you'll primarily manipulate with Geomedia will look like. And I know that over the past year or more, there have been sort of various deliveries of GIC data into an Oracle database that you guys have been able to connect to. But those deployments were sort of just scratch deployments. Those were just like, okay, here is the raw data that GIC created, and here is it in an Oracle table and displayed in Geomedia as a layer. And that's cool. The intent there was so that you could see what GIC is giving you guys. But the actual system is, has a much more, I'll just say, thoughtful set of tables, and in the language of Esri, I'll say tables and feature classes and that are designed to support a specific set of workflows, which I laid out in the system design. And what we're going to be looking at today is I'll say the initial deployment, the testing version, the sort of beta deployment of that system. So what we're going to be looking at is a database that's set up with a very specific structure to support the workflows that we are going to start developing and training in. And the workflows primarily revolve around two things, around maintenance of routes data and extraction of routes data for use for different kinds of uses. I'd say the sort of most front and center use is HPMS submittal, but there's others. So really the difference between what you've worked with in the past and what we're going to look at now is that what we're looking at now is much more fully baked. It's the actual database that you're going to be working with. It's not just kind of raw content. It's the database structure. That said, I don't want to give the impression that what we're looking at is set in stone. The database structure, that is. I mean, we've certainly walked down a path that I've cleared with Keith and Chad and to a smaller extent, I suppose, Tim. But I fully expect that as part of this process, this quote unquote training that we're doing, we're going to together find improvements to the data model that we can make. And in case it's not clear, what I mean by the data model is it's nothing about the data, but it's about the structure of the tables and feature classes that store the data. So like columns and column names and data types within columns and related tables and stuff like that. So let's start. You know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start at the end and just show you what it looks like in Geomedia. I'll also say, and just because, I mean, Geomedia is going to be your main tool for accessing and manipulating the data in this database, but I want to make as clear as I can the notion, the fact that Geomedia is really nothing more than a window into the database. Like the database that stores the GIS, the geospatial data, the geometry, and the attributes is completely independent from Geomedia itself. And the reality is that it's possible, in fact, I'll show you if you want, it's possible to connect other GIS software to the same database and view the same data simultaneously as you're looking at it with Geomedia. So, okay, here's Geomedia. And by the way, I'm going to assume a certain level of understanding of Geomedia, and if I'm assuming too much, just please say so, so I can help.
I'm going to say, I'll just tell you right off the bat, I have had no exposure to Geomedia in 2 years. It was the ancient version of the program that they did that training with, and that training was pretty much the only thing that I ever had. And again, that was 2 years ago, and I've had no real opportunity to exercise that. So pretty much everything I learned in that training is almost entirely gone.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
So
well,
I know pretty much nothing. I get the basics, and I understand what Geomedia is capable of. But as far as actually putting it into practice, I wouldn't have any idea where to begin.
Okay, that's fine. Well, then let me talk a little bit about Geomedia. But again,
I just wanted to give you where I'm at from from a knowledge standpoint, but I don't want to derail the purpose of your training too much.
Okay.
That just
I appreciate that.
So I just wanted to let you know. So I might ask a question that the answer might seem obvious to you. And I just want you to understand why it may not be obvious to me. That's all.
Okay. No, it's all good. I appreciate you letting me know that. Let me then, well, I assume that you guys are both very comfortable in ArcGIS, and I'll just tell you that so am I. So I'm actually a pretty good person to help use the language of ArcGIS to explain Geomedia concepts. So hopefully that I can help, be that bridge for you.
Yeah, that might help.
Yeah. Well, let me just start with this. I mean, what we're looking at here in Geomedia is the equivalent of opening up ArcMap with no data in the ArcMap workspace.
Right.
I mean, I guess that's obvious. I mean, because there's no data there. So what we're looking at right now, this is Geomedia. It's a software program connected to no data.
A blank project.
Yeah, a blank project. But the thing that's a little bit different about Geomedia is that you can be connected to data and still have no data on the map. And let me show you what I mean. I mean, I'm just going to start from the beginning and go do this. I'm going to connect to a Geomedia warehouse. So, by the way, when it uses the word warehouse, that's their fancy word for basically a data source. So, a shapefile could be a warehouse. A Geomedia access database could be a warehouse, and an Oracle spatial database can be a warehouse. So warehouse is their generic word for a data source to view on the map.
So does Geomedia have anything that's equivalent to a geodatabase?
Yes. Well, I mean, think of it this way: geodatabase in the Escher world is a generic term for data
group
that's
of
stored. Data that's stored in a database. So like a shapefile is not a geodatabase, but a personal geodatabase is a geodatabase. And
right.
as I'm sure you guys know, a personal geodatabase is really just an access file that has data in it that Esri clients can read.
Right.
And Geomedia has the exact same thing. In fact, Geomedia did that before Esri ever did. So I'm just gonna let me just show you. When you load Geomedia on any given machine, you get this warehouses folder, and inside it are a bunch of default access databases, MDB files. I'm sure you guys will see this on your own computer. I'm gonna I should have explained what we're looking at right now on my screen. This is my desktop. And then this is my remote desktop into the virtual machine that your IT group has set up for me on your network. So this is what I've been using to deploy all this stuff on your network. Since we're just talking about Geomedia and not about the Oracle stuff, let me show you on my desktop. I'm going to minimize this. All right. See warehouses. Okay, see all these little access files? These are all Geomedia access files. I'm just going to open one up on this US sample data. Oh, come on. All right, I don't have it. Let's do this. Madison County, Alabama. So this is an MDB file. I'm just going to open it in Access, just kind of for your edification here. Computer always slows way down when I have people on the phone. Okay, so and if you look closely, I mean, this looks a lot like have you guys ever opened a personal geodatabase in Access, like from an Esri personal geodatabase in Access?
No.
You should, because what you see is that it's just an access file with tables in it, and here's this table contains the water polygons layer, and the stuff that you actually see on the map, the geometry, is stored in this column. So apparently this is water polygons, so this is Randall Mullins Lake, and the polygon that describes the location of that lake is stored in here. And Geomedia has the ability to read that onto the map as something you can see. And if you were to do the same thing in a Esri personal geodatabase, you would see exactly the same setup, except this would be called shape instead of geometry. Maybe just to kind of demonstrate that, let me open up Geomedia. On my machine. Again, everything runs at half speed when I'm on the phone. So bear with me here. Getting impatient. I feel like it's going to open. Try this again. There we go. Okay, so oh, I did open it twice. Look at that. gonna.
Started it again.
Oh, okay.
I was noticing that it wasn't recording for some reason.
Oh, okay. Good. There we go. All right, Madison County, Alabama. So now you'll see later that connecting to this Access warehouse, we're doing a simple little Access connection, but this is sort of going to be the equivalent of connecting to Oracle on your network. So, all right, we're connecting to Madison County. And then I'm going to go to, what you can do is right-click in the legend, say Add. And what this does now is it will, if you're connected to more than one warehouse, it'll just give you a list of warehouses that you're connected to, and then for each one you can drop down. And we're looking at water polygons, I believe. So bring that in. Great, there they are, water polygons. And I'll just double click on one. Or maybe it wasn't water polygons. Oh yeah, it was. All right. So basically, we are right now simultaneously looking at the same data in Access and in Geomedia. Geomedia is reading this data from this same Access file. So I mean, let me see something. So Mountain Fork, right? I'm going to change this from Mountain Fork to just Mountain. And let me just sort on here. Okay, so here's the record that we're looking at. So go back here. So I changed it to just Mountain, and now I'll say OK. If I go back in here, there you go. Look at that.
All right, so it allows you to make direct edits to the database.
Yeah. Exactly. And that concept is really the key concept for you guys, except the difference is going to be is that the database that you're working with is an enterprise level Oracle database that's on your network. So it's going to be possible for, for as many people as you want to simultaneously be editing a single set of master data on your Oracle database, which is good because everybody sees all the latest edits all the time. So, okay. And the thing that's cool about the Oracle thing is that unlike in Access, Oracle as a data source has its own GIS data format that any GIS vendor can connect to and manipulate. So just because we're using Geomedia as our main tool to interact and edit Oracle data doesn't mean you can't connect to it with other stuff like ArcMap or QGIS. It's bottom line, it's an open format. Okay, so we're back on the I guess my virtual machine on your network. Do you guys have an understanding of what I mean by that? I just want to make sure I'm not assuming too much.
I have an understanding of what a virtual machine is.
Okay. So I'm VPN'd into your network, and I'm using remote desktop to see a virtual machine that's on your network. So, okay. All right. And this Geomedia is connected, again, to nothing. There are no connections. So let's make a new connection to your Oracle instance. I'm going to make an Oracle read-write connection. The username is LRS edit. I sent you the password in that email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we need the host as well, which I will copy and paste from somewhere. All making sense so far?
Yes.
As a matter of for connection name, just so you know, the connection name it can be anything. There's no limit. But let me just say that when I'm setting up a Geo workspace, particularly a Geo workspace that somebody else is going to be using for a workflow, like if I'm setting up a workflow for someone else, I like to be pretty explicit about the connection name. And usually what I do in an Oracle database is I use the following standard. Server name. So this is the server name that the Oracle instance is on. Dot instance name, which in this case is LRST1. Dot username, which is LRS edit. We'll talk probably at length about Oracle security and usernames within Oracle, but just suffice it for now to say that I think that most of the time you'll be using the LRS edit user and potentially also the LRS connect user for most of the work that I imagine you guys will be doing. We'll talk more about that later. So anyhow, just out of curiosity, are you guys following along with me, or are you just watching?
I'm just watching. Should I be following along?
I think watching is probably fine because you can go back to the recording.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure.
Along.
Wonder what version of Geomedia I even have on my machine.
Okay, so now that we've got a valid connection, we're good. And the first thing we want to do is see, okay, what's available to look at. So I just right-clicked inside the legend and said add.
Yeah, I couldn't follow along anyway. I only have Geomedia 6.1 on my machine. Looks nothing like yours.
Kidding?
Yeah, that's what I've got.
You need to fix that.
You need to fix that. So no following along from me, even if I wanted to.
Here's the version.
So, yeah, I know. We were hearing that they've been talking about there was a much updated version that they were using, but that was the version that we were all originally trained on. We were all originally given. And since I haven't had a need because I haven't been using it at all, I've never upgraded. Yeah, 15.
Yeah, version 15, build 10.203.
It's been slightly bugging me that it says hexagon on it, yet that shape is a pentagon. But anyway.
I don't blame you. For what it's worth, though, Tim, the UI looks a little different with these big buttons and stuff, but dude, I'm telling you, the functionality is exactly the same. And when you press any one of these buttons, the resulting like dialog boxes that come up, they're the same ones as they were back in 6.1.
I'm sure that's probably true. I would just need to figure out how to how to get to the same places.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so all right, there's that. I'm going to now add some data. So you drop down the LRS edit, and what you see is actually pretty limited. I'm going to point by point go through each one of these feature classes right now. Although they are all described on the data model diagram and in various places, but So the first, and I'm not going to go through in alphabetical order like they are in here, but I'm going to go through kind of in order of importance in my mind. So the first one is routes. This is the key layer. This is all roads routes, period. So it's every damn route in the entire state. So on system, off system, and everything in between. This is jurisdictions. So these are jurisdiction polygons. I'm actually going to put this on the map right now. You guys may have seen this layer before.
Yes, I have.
So is that just counties and cities, or is it also got?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Or has it also got what?
Does it also have like Caltrans districts and other such things? Because well, those are based on county lines, so you wouldn't. I mean, with a map like this, you wouldn't easily be able to tell whether it had Caltrans districts on it or not.
Yeah, you're right.
So I was just wondering.
Yeah, it's just cities and counties.
Cities and counties. Okay.
So yeah, so if we look at any one, I'm just going to randomly select this polygon right here and look at the attributes behind it.
Los Angeles County and Walnut, City of Walnut.
So the reason this is an important layer, there's a few reasons this is important. The first reason, I guess, is it gives context, right? So you know kind of where you are in the state, and it's a how do I put it? It's a small footprint layer, so you can it loaded very quickly, right? Which is nice.
Yeah.
And then you can use this as a basis to create a spatial filter with some geographic context before you bring in the all roads routes, because I'm telling you now,
which is massive, right?
Yeah, which is massive. And if you bring in all roads routes for the entire state in one go, you know, you're going to wait a couple minutes before it shows on the map, because it's got to stream all that data across the network. And I'm guessing there'll be plenty of times when that's necessary and whatever, you live with it. But if you can avoid it by first applying a spatial filter, which we'll talk about, that makes it so it only brings in the data for a small area that you define. So anyhow, that's the first thing it's nice for. The second thing that it's actually critical for is this: one of the attributes of routes is route ID, and for the off-system portion anyway, route ID is based on the origin. It's based on the county and jurisdiction of the origin point of the route. So this layer gives you the information that you need to build a route ID for off-system routes.
So if you're building a route ID and it starts with the origin jurisdiction, I'm assuming then that since you have cities on here, it must start with the city, and you would only include county if it started in the unincorporated area.
Good question. Your assumption's wrong.
Okay.
But it is a good. Basically, the question is what's the standard for construction of route IDs?
That's pretty much what the question is, but
yeah. So let me show you. So I'll go over what I just did. I just applied a spatial filter. I'll go through how to do that in detail in a minute. But let me first just answer your question. So I applied the spatial filter so I can bring in routes without us sitting here and waiting for 5 minutes for them to load. So okay, bringing in the routes layer. Notice to bring in a layer, it's not this. This used to trip me up. It drove me crazy. I select this and highlight it. That doesn't do it. You got to check the box. Okay.
And then hit OK. It looks like.
Yeah, and then say OK.
So it's not the one click of ArcMap, for example, where you just check the box and you're done.
Well, no. What I meant is highlighting it is not what you do. You check. It's just one click, but the one click is to check the box. See, and then say, I guess, OK. So anyhow, here are the routes for within our spatial filter. All right, and I'm just going to double click on a random route section. first time it retrieves attributes, it's a little slow, but after that first.
Well, yeah, because it's got to build its table in the background to sort through.
Yeah. So, okay, so basically, this is the route ID that you actually use right here. And the standard for routes where route type equals street, which is what most off-system routes are. It's a concatenation of county abbreviation, jurisdiction abbreviation, street name, and then carriage flag.
Okay. So what happens if it's in an unincorporated area?
This part becomes CO for county.
Okay. And there are no cities that use that same
abbreviation.
Abbreviation. No. Thank you. Okay, good.
So, all right. And by the way, that standard, I mean, most of the data creation standards, like that, for example, were created and documented in the context of GIC's data development project. So there's like literally like 5 pages of standards similar to that are pretty well documented in the context of that project. So that would, as somebody who's going to be responsible for maintenance of all roads routes moving forward, you'll want access to that standards document, and if you spend enough time editing data, I guarantee you'll pretty much memorize all those standards.
Yeah, and I have that. I have that, by the way, Tim. So
okay, good.
Yeah.
So, Lars,
yeah.
let me ask you, are you running Geomedia 2015?
Yes. I'm not running it. I'm not running it at the moment, but I have it.
Yeah. That's my question.
Yeah.
I think that it would be cool from just a training perspective to turn the screen share to you for a minute and just have you do exactly what I just did. Just connect to the database with that username and apply a spatial filter, which I need to show you how to do before I just turn it over to you to do it. And then, unless you already know how, which would be cool. I just want to help to reinforce for you guys, more tactilely what I'm showing you. Does that seem like a good thing, or?
It's fine
with
me.
I find that kind of thing very helpful.
Okay, great. Let's do it then. I'm going to make you, Lars, the presenter.
Okay.
And you'll need to press the Show Your Screen button when you're ready to show your screen.
Okay.
And yeah, I see your screen now. Go ahead and fire it up.
Okay.
Do you have more than one screen?
I do.
I'm seeing the screen.
You can't see it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me move it over then.
Yeah.
That.
There you go. I see it now.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go new connection.
So I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything. If you need help.
No, that's okay. That's all right. That was read write. This one right here.
Yeah, I used a read write. Yes.
Okay. And let's see, I have this over here. This is going to be
And just a quick word, again, if you want to use that standard for connection naming that I went through, I mean, whatever, it's up to you.
Yeah, I might as well. Getting a good habit here. Okay, so this is going to be right there. Dot.
So what time were you thinking about breaking for lunch?
Oh, whatever works for you guys.
What was the last part of that convention?
The username.
Yeah.
Oh, LRS edit. Okay.
That's right.
All right, that looks okay?
Yep.
Okay. So let's go like this, add. And we're going to do jurisdictions, right? Okay.
Yep. Oh, good. That came in nice and fast.
Yeah.
Cool. So let me ask, do you know how to apply spatial filter?
Let's see. Is it this?
So
Spatial filter options. I don't know.
let me just jump in and help you.
Okay.
So actually, do you mind giving me keyboard and mouse control? I won't push any buttons, but I just want to be able to point for you.
Okay, how do I do that?
On the GoToMeeting control panel, there's a button in there that says give keyboard and mouse.
Sharing your screen, audio. I want that.
It's under the screen sharing, like panel of the.
Which looks like it's the second tab.
Change presenter to you.
Oh no! Don't make me the presenter. Just there's a button for give keyboard and mouse. If I'm presenting, then my screen is what you'll
Share
see.
keyboard and mouse with you. Okay.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to try to take over and see what happens. Okay. Cool. So that's me controlling your mouse.
Okay.
If you. All right. So all right. So let me just quickly go through what these are. Basically, these are options for ways to apply a spatial filter. The easiest, the two that I use 95% of the time are these. So I either apply a spatial filter by just drawing an area that I want my spatial filter to apply to, so a rectangular fence. So I just drew it, and then after you draw it, you double click, and then blam. The other option that I use is map window extent. Basically what that does, it's the same thing, except the extent of your viewport is what the filter becomes. So if I press that, then let me zoom out just a hair so you can see the thing. If there were any features outside of this thing, you wouldn't see them. So let me demonstrate by doing this. Just zooming in, apply this map window extent. No. You see? Anyhow, again,
and then can you turn it off again really fast and then create a new one?
Yeah.
If you wanted to just have a new filter from the zoomed out area.
So yeah, so this is how you remove the filter. Everything's back on now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll use this again.
Are there hotkey controls for those things?
There can be. I think you can create hotkeys. Well, I haven't done that in a long time.
Those seem like something that would be really useful to have bound to a hotkey.
Yeah.
Especially, I can imagine using those things frequently enough that it would be useful.
You know what you can do? I'll show you how, either today or next time or whatever. But
sure. Yeah. No rush.
Or I was going to say you can call Intergraph Tech Support, and they'll totally help you with that kind of thing. I mean, they'll teach you how to do a hotkey real quick. I mean, I'm happy to do that as well, but you guys are already paying for that support, you know.
Right.
Just use it. Okay, so that's that. Oh, one other thing. When I do spatial filters, I like to, before I even apply a filter, the first thing I do is I press this spatial filters options button and change the operator, the spatial operator for the spatial filter from inside to overlap. Because generally when I do a spatial filter, I do either map window or rectangular fence, and I'm just trying to get I'm just trying to cut down my data size. Like I'm not doing some like fancy. I'm not trying to do an analysis. I'm just trying to limit the amount of data for display. So I'm fine with getting a few extra features. Do you see what I'm saying? So in this case now, we're getting everything that overlaps, not just everything that's entirely inside. I prefer that. Anyhow, there. You take it back, Lars, and I guess the next thing I did was bring in the routes layer.
So bring in the routes layer, okay, of this spatial filter. All right.
Yep.
This guy.
By the way, this is a pretty dense area, and I can see that my spatial filter includes a significant part of LA. So this
it could take a while to load.
Yeah, it'll take enough time to take a few sips of coffee.
That wasn't too bad.
No, it wasn't bad at all. Actually, that was pretty damn good. I'm very happy with the performance. I was really worried about about how quickly the network can transfer the data. So I don't know. Let's zoom in and look at the attributes of one or two of these bad boys.
Okay. Let's see. Let's get out of this.
Press escape. It'll stop trying to select everything. All right. Yeah. Okay. You're good.
Okay. So let's see. Oh wait, I want to zoom in. So
you got to grab the zoom tool.
Okay. Yeah. Set escape.
Cool. Yeah, just double click on any one of these little things, and let's just see what the attributes look like. Cool. You're on your way.
Yep.
Under comment, put in anything at all.
Keep it simple.
Sounds good. Yeah. Sounds good to me. Press OK. All right, cool. So I don't suppose you remember exactly which segment that was, so we can look at it again and see what you just added into it.
It's right here.
Press.
Oh, that wasn't it.
That wasn't it. That's all right.
Maybe it was
you know what? I'll show you.
Long Beach. I'm not sure where the line is for Long Beach, but you were in Long Beach. It was Carson Street in Long Beach.
Okay. Well, we'll find it. I'll show you how. Do you mind if I control for a minute, Lars?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Let's do this. First things first, there's something that's bugging me is the fact that we keep getting these quick pick things, and that's because everywhere we click, there's at least 2 layers that you might be trying to select.
Right.
Either jurisdictions or routes. We can fix that by
locatable off.
Exactly.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. That's one thing I want to show you. That's the same thing, by the way, Tim, as selectability in ArcMap.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Let's do this. I'm going to go to show windows, and we're going to add a new data window. So this is the equivalent. Well, no, wait a minute. There's a few ways to do this. This is the equivalent of a, do they call it an attribute window in ArcMap? I forget.
I think so.
But
so basically
we can
the table.
Look, yeah. So we can look at the table behind any one of these feature classes. And by the way, there's also some other non-geospatial tables back here that we can look at through here because they don't have geometry to show on the map. That's why we get a longer list here. Anyhow, let's just go ahead and do that for LRS routes. And again, because we have that spatial filter on, we're only going to get the records that are relevant to this area. So, all right, so okay. Right, we got 105,322 records in this area. So, let's do this. I'm going to go to comment.
Sort by, probably.
Yeah, sort descending. And your saying is going to be I'm looking for the record that you added.
Right.
Well, since the comment field's blank here,
and
it was loop at the top.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be like right before the text ended?
Yep.
Oops.
All right. Yeah, I passed it. Come on. All right, where are we? 587. I'm going to go to, you see what I'm doing down here on the left? Going to go to record 500. There we go.
There it is.
So we can highlight it here. I'm going to shrink this. And because it's selected here, I can come to the map window and say under this selection tool here, might be a more efficient way to do this, but there's this fit select set option. that zooms us right to it. Probably would have been better if this wasn't actually already green, because it's a slightly different color green. Right?
Yeah, it's going to be hard to find if you're zoomed out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just change this now to personally, my preference is for whenever I have routes on the map, I color them very in a mute tone there. So anyhow, we found the record. There it is. Yay. So that's that. That's sort of, oh, you know what? I was going to show you the, going to go through each layer and tell you what it is. Let me finish doing that. Are there any questions that are popping in your minds that I can stop and answer?
Not so far.
Seems pretty clear.
Okay, cool. Let me finish going through these. So we talked about routes. We've talked about jurisdictions. Let's talk about view SHS routes. So routes are all routes, on system, off system, all routes, period. This is a subset of these.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the state highway system routes.
So that's on system.
Yes, that's right. That's on system routes, but not to be confused with the on system in the manner that you guys have had it in the past. This is the all roads calibration of the on system routes. And again, the all roads calibration is based on that long set of standards that Lars has a copy of. And I already showed you, Tim, the way to make an event layer that provides you with the TSN calibration of on-system routes. I think we'll save that for another separate session. But anyhow, I'm going to bring in this layer now. And I'm going to give it Caltrans orange color. By the way, in order to get the legend entry properties so I can change the style, you have to click, like right here. Clicking here won't work. Clicking here won't work. It's got to be like on the little style icon.
Right.
So what does the VW stand for?
View.
View.
Okay.
And I'm gonna give you a fairly lengthy spiel in a minute here about what a view really means in the context of this database, because it's a pretty important concept that might take some mind bending to get used to. But anyhow, there you go. There's the on-system stuff. Mm-hmm. And you should be aware from a data content perspective that all of the on-system geometry that you're looking at is derived from the on-system geometry that, Tim, you provided me back in December.
Mm.
So I ripped out the on-system geometry that was there before then and replaced it with this stuff. And it actually looks pretty good. Like I was worried that there would be lots of mismatches, and there really, to me, it looks pretty damn good. I'm very happy with it. But you'll also see if you double click on this guy, that the attributes behind the on-system stuff are exactly like the attributes on the off-system. And the begin and end measures, they're not post miles, they're not odometers. These are all roads measures that are calculated using the all roads method.
So it's just a geometric length.
Yeah, pretty much.
In the program. I also noticed your route ID is different.
Yeah, right. That's right. So since we were talking about views, let's do that. Let's have a good conversation about views and maybe just a little bit about Oracle in general. If it's okay, I'm going to switch back to my machine as the
sure,
as the presenter. Okay. Maybe should have screen two. All right, let me type in. So I need to log back into my thing. All right. So we're going to switch away from Geomedia for a minute. So what I tried to accomplish so far is just to kind of start again at the end, which is, okay, this is the data in Geomedia, and this is sort of the fundamentals of how you use Geomedia to connect to the data and just view it and start doing things with it. We can talk ad nauseum about how to use Geomedia to write queries and to make maps and to do dynamic segmentation and to do all kinds of things. We'll hit that plenty in the future. Actually, particularly how to do data editing and route calibration and all that. But what I want to do now is give you a sense of what's going on kind of behind Geomedia back in Oracle. So the tool that I use to interact directly or more directly with the Oracle database, or I'll just sort of roughly say to administer the Oracle database, is Oracle SQL Developer. And you know, honestly, when I open it up here, you'll see it in a second. Have you guys used Toad at all?
Yes, minimally.
A little bit.
Okay. I use this in the same way that Keith uses Toad. And honestly, the interface is pretty much the same. You know what else it looks a lot like? Is Art Catalog. And the reason for that is that just like with in an Esri geodatabase, there's a bunch of different database objects that you can manage with this tool. But the thing that's different here is that the database objects are generic database objects. They are Oracle database objects. It's not. It's interesting. It's not Geomedia. What Geomedia does is it leverages generic database management practices, Oracle database management practices, to manage the objects that you view in Geomedia. So you don't have to. The nice thing is anybody who is familiar with Oracle management, which is a much bigger audience than just GIS analysts, but people who know how to manage Oracle databases can manage an Oracle Geomedia database using these generic Oracle tools. So anyhow, you'll probably recognize that these are the tables that we were able to view, with the exception of these MDXT things. These are the tables that we were able to see in Geomedia. And if we look, for example, at the routes table within this view, first thing it shows you are the names of the columns and the details of the data type for each column, et cetera. If you press this little data button here, it actually shows you the data. And of course, the first records in here are mostly DNC records, which is kind of a bummer. But here's one record. And again, remember that access database where it said like long binary object for the geometry? This is what you get here. This is the geometry. This is the stuff you actually see on the map. So the thing is that just, I guess the thing I want to sort of pound into you here is that geometry data is just that. It's just data. It's just another value in another column in a table. Just another column, just a value in a record in a column in a table. Just like this value, 0.063, and this value. There's nothing special, really, about the geometry from the perspective of the database. One of the things that you can do with, at least with an enterprise database, you can't do this with Access, but you can with, say, with Oracle or Postgres or SQL Server, is you can create queries that get written in the database, and these queries persist. Like you write the query and you implement the query, and then the result of that query is exposed to applications that read from the database as if it was a table. But it's not a table, it's a query. And the word for that is a view.
So the way that what it sounds like you're describing is not dissimilar from when you do a definition query in ArcMap, and it limits the data that is the data that comes up to whatever you queried out. It's also the only data that shows on the screen.
That's exactly right. It's yeah. The only the meaningful difference. You're from an end user perspective, you're absolutely right. And I'll just say the only meaningful difference here is that is where the processing to run that query occurs. In this case, that processing is occurring directly in the data source, directly in Oracle, and therefore it runs a lot faster. So see, like if you were to do a definition query, the equivalent of a definition query in Geomedia, which you can do, by the way, it still has to pull the entire routes layer across the wire before it can filter out the stuff it doesn't want.
Right.
The advantage here is that all of this is being done directly closer to the data source, directly on the server that is storing the data.
Now, just to clarify, because I don't know if I missed something you said or not, but yeah. Can these views be created in Oracle through Geomedia? I mean, can you open Geomedia and create these views? I mean, are they being created in Oracle when you do it that way, or are they being created in Geomedia? You understand what I'm asking?
Yeah. Well, if I could rephrase your question.
Sure.
I mean, maybe a question would be: are there tools in Geomedia to create views in Oracle?
Okay.
And the answer to that is no. I create views using SQL Developer. So, like, here, I'll just create a view for you right now. I'm going to say create view VW junk as select record ID and geometry from routes where record ID is less than, I don't know, 20,000. Is that right? Is that 20,000?
No, it's 200,000.
There we go. So I'm going to create this view. So notice the set of views that exist here.
Mm-hmm.
Run that. Tells me view junk was created.
Refresh, probably.
Yep. Yeah. There's view junk.
So
and if we look, That's data. There you go.
All right. So what kind of access rights do you need to the Oracle database in order to be able to do that?
Great question. So you need to access the database. Okay. You know what? Let me bring up the system design document.
Is this the Oracle LRS schema that you
yes.
uploaded to Basecamp?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Well, oh, you mean yesterday? No.
Yesterday.
What I want to show is the Oracle architecture diagram.
Oh, okay.
Which is a slightly older thing. Here's system design. So let me just quickly answer your question, Tim, which is to do that you need the credentials for the LRS user. LRS edit user cannot do that. And I've shared those credentials with
Keith, right?
With Keith, yeah.
Yeah.
And further, so what we've done is we've created a database object. I mean, using the LRS user, you can create tables and like actual tables, and you can also create triggers and every other one of these different types of objects that are in here.
Mm-hmm.
So so anyhow, let me get this thing. Diagrams, Oracle architecture. This is the one I want. All right, so these are all of the users that exist in the system.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that you guys, I think what you guys in particular will interact with Oracle through is going to be LRS edit,
right,
and LRS connect. And LRS connect gives you read-only access to everything. LRS edit gives you edit access to routes and jurisdictions, and I forget, maybe a few other little things. But it's weird. In Oracle, there's this sort of mixing of the concept of users and schemas. Schemas store database objects, and users access database objects. But every user owns a schema. And so, for example, the LRS user here owns the LRS schema. And only the LRS user can create objects within the LRS schema. So only the LRS user can create views and tables. But the LRS edit user, while it can't create a whole new table, what it can do is edit data within a pre-existing table.
Okay.
So in the event that we needed to create a new view or modify an existing view, we would have to consult Keith. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, unless he gives you that password.
I see.
Or me for that matter. Well,
right.
this is another. Yeah,
right.
This is another thing to consider is that I should have made a point of this earlier. Sorry. LRST1. The T stands for testing and training, which means that this instance of Oracle is actually not. It's not technically production.
Mm-hmm.
This is by mandate of IT, of Ala and Bob over in IT. the way that they want to do stuff is that if there's a developer, you know, a quote-unquote developer like me or Keith or you guys who wants to create new database objects to support our application, you know, and our application being Geomedia, I guess, then they want all of that development work, and as far as they're concerned, that's development, to happen in a testing or training database, and then only then will they look at what we've done and either bless it and push it to a production database or not.
Yeah, it's all about control.
So, yes, that's right. Yes, it is. The good news is, I mean, right now, there, as far as I know, there is no LRS P1 database that even exists yet. But it is something that you guys should be very aware of, is like, okay, you should always ask yourself, am I connecting, like when LRSP does exist, what you don't want to do is you want to be absolutely clear which instance has your production data, because you don't want to spend time improving data in LRSP if the actual production data is in LRSP.
Right.
I'm sure that you guys have dealt with that in the past, but I just see that as a risk right now, because there's not a clear plan for cutover between P and P. That's something that I actually wrote an email to Ala last night about that, saying, hey, we need to understand what the plan is to, you know, make sure we're not spinning our wheels doing data edits in the wrong place.
Right. Got it.
Okay. Okay, so since we're talking about it, maybe I'll say one last thing, which is simply creating the view or table is not enough to expose it to Geomedia. The last thing you have to do is use database utilities, Geomedia database utilities, to actually add some Geomedia metadata that makes Geomedia aware of these objects. And let me show you how to do that. In here, I'm going to just type database. Oops, I have to spell it right. Okay, so this is this little application. Honestly, this does pretty much the same thing that the database management tools in Arc Catalog do. This is totally the equivalent of managing SDE metadata in an ArcGIS geodatabase. So in this case, we're making an Oracle connection, LRS, and then who knows, maybe I still have that note. Let me get my credentials. Right. What we're going to do is insert feature class metadata. Think about it. And notice view junk. This is an available table or view. Pass it over here. Feature class to insert. I trained Keith in doing this, and the truth is assuming Keith is going to be the guy that deals with this back-end stuff, you'll never have to worry about this. But I just want you to know that it's
oh, it's good to know.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to say this is the primary key view, and the geometry type is spatial line. I figured that out somehow. Say OK, OK. The coordinate system is that. Sign. Yeah, that's fine. So now if we go to Geomedia, So okay, if I just say add right now, it won't see view junk. But I'm going to bounce the connection real quick. So warehouse connections, highlight this guy, and then reopen. I'll say close and open just to be clear about what I'm doing. And now if I go in and say add, oh, I know what's going on. We're logged in as LRS edit, but in here we only created this object as LRS. So what I need to do lastly is grant select on VW junk to LRS edit. I think that will do what I need. Grant. Okay, let's try this again. Another sort of tip and trick is applying a new spatial filter. It's just as good as bouncing your connection.
Interesting.
Think. Maybe not. Sometimes it is. It is if you're trying to just reread data. There we go. Voila, there's view junk. Anyhow, let me get rid of it now. Just drop it. Let's do this. What I'd like to do is look at the data model diagram together now. You know what? No, let's not. Let's do this. I want to look at since we're talking about users and privileges a little bit, I want to talk a little more about the system design and the users within the system design. Let me see here if I can find that. All right, so bear in mind that this document was written back in October, and a few things have changed. But
and this was what was presented at the November meeting, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It looks familiar.
But, cool. Now, I can totally understand if, back in November, all of this was just too abstract. because you didn't, I was doing my best to communicate this vision of a technical implementation that will meet all your needs. And whatever, I did my best, but I don't blame you at all if this stuff just, the connection of why this stuff is important didn't make sense at the time. And I think now with the context I've just given you, I want to go over it again. So these are the database users that we've implemented into the system. And let me just say this, that LRS prod does not exist. It's just LRS. I think that's the only difference. So let me just go through these one by one. So LRS is the user that owns the objects that you're going to care most about. That's the stuff we've been looking at, the jurisdictions, routes, etc. So it will be the owner of database objects, except for the Geomedia metadata. This user is intended to be used to update data object definitions, but not to edit or view data content. So there really should be no reason to connect to the Oracle database with the LRS user with Geomedia. It's really only intended as a database administration user. Let's GeoSys. I'll just say this is the user that owns the Geomedia metadata that we just populated with database utilities. Bottom line, you shouldn't have to worry about it, about GeoSys. You'll never even need to log on as it. Next is LRS edit. Now this is your main thing. This user will own no objects, meaning you won't administer any database objects, but will be used exclusively for editing routes data content within the LRS schema by GIS analysts. Users outside of the GIS unit should not have access to this privilege. So my recommendation and assumptions based on my technical design and stuff are that only you guys in the GIS unit are going to be editing routes geometry and calibrating routes geometry. And that others will be creating event data that lives on top of it, of the routes geometry, but you guys will be the owners of that stuff. Anyhow, the LRS edit user has privileges to the tables and views that you need in order to do your job. There's an NHS user. You'll notice within the LRS schema, there's an NHS table. That's National Highway System.
Mm-hmm. This is Rose,
Very
right?
simple. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
This is Rose. So this is Rose's event table. This is her event table of NHS roads. And she will manage the content of this table using the NHS user. By the way, LRS edit will not have edit privileges on this table. Unless you think that's a bad idea, which I'm totally open for. But yeah. And then the same goes for F-class. This is Leo.
Mm-hmm.
Used exclusively for editing data content within the F-class table. And that's this guy. I'll hit this up in more detail when the time comes to train in the F-class data editing workflow. But I want to point out real quickly that this is an event table. Should be conceptualized as a tabular event table that can dynamically segment on top of all those routes. But I did add a geometry column, which means that it comes across in Geomedia as a line layer, a GIS layer with lines. And the reason that I added this column is that the amount of time it takes to dynamically segment the entire state it's slow. It's really slow. And by adding a geometry to the layer, it means that you can use spatial filters to filter out only the records that you need to do dynamic segmentation on at any given time. And, so the problem is that it's kind of duplicative, right? The geometry is a snapshot of the dynamic segmentation at a given point in time, which means there's some extra overhead. You have to make sure that your geometry that's stored here is up to date with the geometry that's created as a result of dynamically segmenting any one of these records against all roads routes. So there's some extra overhead for this layer, but I think it's worth it for the advantages that having this stored gives you. All right, back to here. There's HPMS. You know, let's talk about these two HPMS ones in a minute. Let's go down to LRS Connect. LRS Connect is very simple. It's just read-only access to everything. So anybody can have that username as far, and no harm done. People can read the data and even download the data to a separate file on their desktop, and whatever. They can do whatever they want with the data except for edit it in Oracle. So HPMS. HPMS actually, so if we look back at our schema documents, this, HPMS actually owns objects and separate and apart from the LRS schema. Let's look at that real quick just so you're aware it's there. So here is the HPMS thing. And these are the tables it owns. It's a whole bunch of them. Really, pretty much all these tables look exactly the same. They all have the same set of columns, you know. And what they are it's a place for HPMS staff to store the results of their HPMS submittal after they've made a submittal at the end of the year. So the idea is that they go through all the trouble to process all this event data for submittal to their HPMS software, and then as things currently stand, then that data is just kind of lost, or it's just given to FHWA and it's of no use to Caltrans. In theory, they could take all that data and push the data into these tables and just have it available as layers that people can use for whatever they might think they could use them for. There's a few other objects, a few other tables in here that are useful as well. There is, let's see here, urban areas. This is a polygon layer that I imagine you guys have seen at some point in the past. It's just a polygon layer of urban areas throughout the state. Here, let's look at some of the data. I don't know, is this familiar to you guys?
Yeah, I've seen that layer.
Okay. There's this, and there's also ownership poly. It's mostly federal lands ownership stuff, but again, they use these polygon layers as a basis for creating HPMS section event data for different data items within HPMS. And so the implication is that it's on the HPMS group's shoulder to manage all this stuff. So that's that. And also within HPMS, they have this routes catalog view, which let's look at that real quick. What it is it's a view based on this query. You guys know what a join query is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Well, that's what this is. It's a join. It's a join between LRS routes and this is public table within the right here. And let me just show you is public. All it has is record ID, and these are routes record IDs. And then this is public value. Basically, if it's -1, that means that it is in fact a public road. And if it's 0, then it's a private road. And so when what this routes catalog thing is all about is twofold. One, it provides a method by which HPMS staff, not you guys, I managed to get this taken off your plate. HPMS staff can designate individual segments of route as public or not public. And that's important to them because if a given piece of route is not public, then it's not included in the HPMS submittal. So using this view, they can see this view in Geomedia, and then when they edit the is public column from true to false, I can show you this if you're interested. What actually happens is this trigger in the database fires. It's called an instead of trigger. So instead of update on view routes catalog, which honestly is something you can't update a join view anyway, what it says to do is instead go update the hpms.isPublic table, set isPublic to the new isPublic value that you just passed in. The record ID for what you just passed in is equivalent to the old record ID, and then end the trigger. So, and something I didn't show you is that when you create a route on so when you guys actually digitize a new route with Geomedia, another trigger fires that will populate the isPublic table with a new record, with the new record ID, and designate that new route as a public route by default. So that's the first purpose of the view routes catalog is to support this isPublic data editing update workflow. Secondly, it's also the view from which these guys will extract routes data for publishing to the HPMS software on a yearly basis. That's why we limit to only primary carriageways, and we remove routes that have a route type of do not calibrate, which is basically not a route, or on system, because they'll be getting their on system a different way. Let me take a breath. That was a lot. Questions?
Well, if you want, we can break for lunch sometime in the next half hour or whenever.
Yeah, sure. You know, maybe now's a good time. Actually, let me finish these. So, okay. So the HPMS user is the user that owns this stuff. And again, my plan is to, well, in theory, it seems like HPMS staff should have access to the HPMS user so that they can make edits to the HPMS schema. So, you know, administer the HPMS schema, add tables, remove tables, do whatever it is they want to do. But I'll just say it, I don't think they're ready for that responsibility. So I've given Keith the keys to that kingdom, and whatever. I mean, you guys can sort of facilitate fostering them along so they are ready to actually administer that thing if you guys want to do that. So the last one is HPMS edit. So this is will in fact use, right? This is totally equivalent to LRS edit. This provides the ability for them to edit content, data content within any one of their objects. So so that they can, for example, populate their data section item tables with content from the submittal, or so they can edit the polygon layers that they're responsible for maintaining, like ownership poly and urban areas. And that's also what they would use for that isPublic workflow that I just described. And that's it. Those are the users. You guys want to take, I don't know, how long do you want, Tim?
Whatever you think is appropriate. Depends on when you want to come back.
I don't know. You want to call it 1 o'clock?
That's probably fine. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I mean, that said, you guys tell me if you're reaching a saturation point. I want to get as much done as we can, but on the same token, I totally get it that there's a point where you kind of just need to cogitate on what you've already learned. So,
well, most of it's probably not gonna really. I mean, I'm following you, and I don't feel like I'm struggling too bad to keep up with what you're talking about, and I get it all in. I understand all your concepts and everything that you're presenting, but it's not going to really sink in for me until I'm actually implementing this information. That's when it'll really start making sense when I'm doing it myself.
Okay. Okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, yeah, you're right. Right now, I'm laying foundational concepts, and soon enough, we'll be actually editing data, and I think that's when I agree. The concepts will be. That's when you put them into practice, right? Okay. Well, let me just ask this then. I mean, should we even bother coming back, or have we done enough for the day, or there's plenty more I could cover?
Well, I'm perfectly happy to sit and listen to anything you want to share. I mean, this is all new information and valuable information to me. So, if you feel that there's a lot more you want to share, you want to continue building on some of these ideas, I'm okay with that. But I'm not going to speak for Lars though either. So.
No, I'm fine. Get back together at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, 1 o'clock is good.
Okay.
All right, I'm just going to pause the recording and leave the screen share on, so we can all jump back on at 1.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
So next order of business is looking at data model diagram. Let's do that, which is neither of these two. Let me go open that up. On system implementation plan. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember where I put this thing. No, wait a minute. It's back here. It's probably here. Or not. Do you guys have it handy? I know I sent it by Basecamp.
Yeah, I have it. I actually have it up.
Oh, okay, well, let's just make it. Yeah,
okay.
Let me make
I'll move it over to, okay. How about if we go like this? Is this the one you're talking about?
I can't see your screen yet. You have to share your screen.
Oh, show my screen. Okay, here we go.
Hey, sorry, can you guys hang on just a quick sec? I'll be right back.
Sure.
All right. Excellent. Perfect. Okay, so let's just go through these tables. Oh, cool. I can even control your mouse. So I don't know. Maybe it's fairly self-explanatory, but let me just go through this. Here's the routes table with all routes, including the all roads calibration. This is the view of routes that I already showed you the SQL for. And these are just on-system, all roads routes. And then there's the jurisdictions layer, which, by the way, in theory, you guys, I guess, are responsible for maintaining. I imagine once in every few years a new city gets created or something, and you have to cut a hole, to make it work.
They're updating their boundaries all the time, though.
Oh, are they? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll just say I didn't do much. This is just a polygon layer, and it's kind of, I didn't do anything to like make a very official workflow for managing that. It's just a layer that you can edit. So, okay, within routes, there are a few fields that are managed by a pick list, or I guess what in the ArcGIS world is called a domain. And those fields are the ones that are bold. So route type is constrained by the list of route types within this table. Carriage flag, this guy here, is constrained by a list of carriage flags in this table. Jurisdictions, this guy, route jurisdiction, is constrained by a list of records in this, not table, but view. So this is a view. And it's a view that's built off of the jurisdictions layer / Oracle table. And then the same goes for counties. So route county, built off of counties. For NHS, this is something I'll have to talk to Rose about, but I noticed in some of her data that there seemed to be a sort of a way to type the different NHS routes. So I have a domain of NHS types, but honestly, I don't have any values in there. I'll have to talk to her about that. But, then for F-class, it's just F-class value, 1 through 7. Then there's this stuff. So these are the two event tables, and here's your TSN route events. And again, I think Tim has a pretty good handle on how this overlays on this as an event layer, but is in fact a route layer.
I know that it confuses people. That's the reason why I don't like sharing it, because I don't think that most people really understand what that table is.
You don't like sharing what?
What we call the point file that is really a route file.
Yeah. Wait, the point file that is really a route file. I guess I'm sorry.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding what you were saying. Maybe I thought you were talking about one table and you're really talking about something else. So never mind.
Okay. This is a TSN routes table, which does not have a geometry, but it does contain information that allows it to dynamically segment over the all roads routes. So these events are linear events. They're not point events. They're linear events. So they have a begin and an end. So these linear events will serve as a replacement for what is your current on-system calibration, your TSN-based on-system calibration. And all of those TSN odometers are here.
Okay.
And we'll look at all that well, yeah. Do you have a question? Ready to go?
I was just thinking to myself that it is probably going to, we have to make sure that we go over how to change and update those TSN routes to match updated TSN data.
I totally agree. And in fact, I think we should spend 2 days on that and maybe more. I'll just be honest. The reality is I have only a vague idea of exactly how what is the most efficient way for that to go down for you guys. I mean, I know how I did it, but my workflow was predicated on sort of this one-time mass data conversion sort of approach. And for you, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be like dribs and drabs. and that means it's maintenance as opposed to development, and that generally infers a pretty different workflow. And you know, I'll be honest, that's going to be an iterative process that we develop together. I think what's really going to happen is you're going to understand the source data much better than I will from TSN, and I'm going to understand the tools and capabilities in Geomedia better than you were, and between your knowledge and mine, we'll come to as good a workflow as we can to keep this table up to date.
Right, and I think that I think that there was definitely miscommunication going on. This table that you're calling a linear event table, the TSN routes,
yes,
we don't maintain it that way. We maintain it as a point. We maintain it as a point event, and that's why I was saying I don't like sharing it, because it confuses people. Because people look at it, and they see a set of points, and they assume those points are one thing. But when they start digging into the table and discovering that it has beginning and end measures, they're like, "But these are points. How come it has a beginning and end? What's going on?" Not realizing that, of course, it's just an event file based on one of those measure sets.
Yeah.
But anyway, regardless, that's all I was saying.
Okay, gotcha. Well, yeah, this is going to be an interesting animal. It's going to be fun. Yeah, I'll just quickly, well, trying to avoid getting into this, but here we go.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to cover it at length later on, then we probably only need to go into whatever is relevant for you relevant to whatever you're going to show us today.
Okay, let's do that. The main question that I'm just going to ask on your behalf is, oh, this is weird. These two domain tables that feed the pick lists for these two fields and routes, that's weird that they're not tables, they're views. Right?
Well, I suppose so.
Strike you as a little funny?
Well, I can think of reasons why that could be the case, so I didn't jump out to me as funny. I did notice that you called it out specifically, but
okay, cool. Then mission accomplished. Maybe just for your benefit, let's see, what's the easiest way to do this? You know what, I should just go find this thing on my own computer so I can quickly switch between the actual application and the data model. You know, give me just a moment, sorry, to just find it for real, because obviously I have it, I built the darn thing. LRS schema data model, there we go. All right. Okay, I'm going to take back presentation, all right, Lars?
Sure. Go for it.
Screen 2. All right. Okay, there it is. Same thing for me. So now I can switch between that and this. So we'll look at this stuff in Geomedia in a minute, but first let's look at it here, just because I want to show you the underlying stuff. All right, close down the HPMS, open up the LRS. So I specifically called out the views, the domain of counties and domain of jurisdictions. I just want to show you the SQL that actually constructs these domain views. So select county abbreviation from jurisdictions as code and county as description. And if I go open the jurisdictions table, this will probably hopefully make some sense. So again, we're talking about counties. So county abbreviation and county. County abbreviation and county. And then we're doing a group by query on those two. Do you guys know what a group by query means?
No.
No? Okay. It means like this. If you have a table with, I'll just say 1,000 records, and 20 of those records have a value of 1, and then the other records have a value of 2, but there's 1,000 of them in all. What you'll get is, if you say select the column name, group by column name, what you'll get back is just 2 records, one record as a return for each distinct value. So because only 1 and 2 exist in there, so the point here is that I'm reducing the, if you look at jurisdictions, like some counties, like LA County, for example, are going to be made of multiple polygons. So what it does is just it collapses it all down to just 1 record for 1 county.
Okay.
That's all. And if you look here and look at the data, there's as many records as there are counties, 58. Whereas if you did the same thing in jurisdictions, that wouldn't be the case.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. And then same thing for jurisdictions.
Because many cities have discontinuous pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
Discontiguous pieces.
And as a result, we have this nice, concise list of all the cities in California. But all of that is really just a query of the jurisdictions table. So the nice thing is, as you maintain the jurisdictions layer and add new cities and counties and such, these views will automatically update because they are just queries of jurisdictions. Kind of nice, I guess. And then the rest of these domain tables are just what you expect. Domain carriage flag, primary, secondary, those are the only choices. F class value, 1 through 7. NHS types, these are fake values because I don't really know what belongs there. Route types, this is going to be very important. We'll talk about route types shortly. And all these domain tables, as you see back here, as you see here, all these domain tables start with DM. Okay, now let's move on to doing the same stuff in Geomedia. So we are connected as LRS edit, and let's just go ahead and open this stuff, new data window. I'll just open DM counties. Remember, this is actually a view, but Geomedia doesn't know it's a view. Wham. Trying to think what's the next logical thing to go into. Well, I guess let's digitize a route, huh? Sound good to you guys, or is there?
Sure.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we're going to make up a route. We'll just make up some fake data that you just delete when we're done. You know, let me go somewhere a little more rural so it's easy to find the stuff that we do. I'm going to turn off routes, and then it's a filter. It's easy to see where I am. Let's go to Camp Pendleton. Digitize some roads on the military base. or out in the ocean for that matter. So, all right.
New experimental floating highway.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's a bridge from the aircraft carrier into the beachhead that the Marines have established.
Excellent.
Maximize Geomedia. I'm going to do a little bit of display action that I like. So I'm going to display my routes with a nice minimal kind of thing. Maybe even do this. I'm going to classify on route type. And I'm just going to turn all this stuff off, except so that everything, I think everything will come across as a base style, and then I want these, no, not street. I want SHS, come on. And SHS, that's fine. All I'm doing is symbolizing stuff, so I'm not doing anything amazing here. Nah. You know what, sorry, that was a big fail. Let me start over here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to add routes, and I'm going to add view of SHS routes. Now, just to always know that view of SHS routes is just the same, the SHS data from routes, so it's duplicative information. And I'm going to symbolize route and put it underneath, symbolize SHS routes with Caltrans orange, and symbolize these guys with muted gray. Maybe shrink that a hair, it's just that big. Okay. All right, so I'm going to make up a road that by using the insert. So in Geomedia, to create a feature on the map, go to Vector, Insert Feature. You'll always use, I think you'll pretty much always use this Insert Feature thing. If you use this, I think this is how to do Kogo. Yeah. This is, if you have precision coordinate geometry, you can key it in through here. But if you're heads-up digitizing, which I'm sure you'll be doing 99% of the time, you'll do it with that. And so when you say insert feature, this thing pops up. So it's, that cancels the command. So let me just make that point. Insert feature, this thing pops up. And you got to specify which layer you want to insert a feature to. So this is going to be to routes. And then you have, it knows it's a line layer, so it just automatically chooses line for you. You have the option to add geometry in different ways. I'm just going to do it simple, point by point. There's these other options that might be worth exploring. Yeah. And then you start clicking. So click, 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 click. Double click. Okay. And then this guy comes up. So let's just say the route type we're adding is, let's go with SHS. So it's a state highway system route. If you look at that standards document that Lars has, you'll see that for state highway system routes, all you need to construct a route ID is a highway number and a carriage flag. And then based on that, it's SHS underscore highway number underscore carriage flag. So we've already specified that this is state highway system. And notice here when I see how it says value equals SHS, what it's actually storing, like what you see there is the description from the domain table, but what's actually being stored is the code, and the code is SHS.
Right.
So
it's got a link to that other table.
That's right. So there's that, and then we're going to populate this highway pre with a highway number, and let's just call it 999. And you'll see why this highway pre thing is important in a second. And then the carriage flag is, let's just say primary. So I want you to notice a few things. Aura length is not populated, and route ID is not populated, and neither is the calibration begin measure end measure for this segment. Let's say OK. Great. It's now entered into the system. Let's look at it. Look, magic.
Interesting that it's not showing the same formatting though as the other SHS lines. You have to.
Oh yeah. Huh. Yeah, you're right. I wonder. I'm sure if I bounce the connection, if I do this, there you go.
There it goes. Yep.
That's a good point, though. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is the reason why it didn't show the same formatting there is because Geomedia knew. First of all, Geomedia doesn't know that this is a view of this. It doesn't know. As far as it knows, it's just completely separate layers and tables. Therefore, it had nothing told Geomedia to go reread the data out of this layer until I reapplied the spatial filter. Then it just went and reread everything.
That makes sense.
But the cool thing, the thing I really want to point out here is the processing that happened behind the scenes. Notice in pre, we just put 999, not SHS 999. Route ID full was not populated at all, and aura length was not populated at all. Let me just show you what happened there is this trigger fired. Routes before insert and update. Routes before insert and update trigger. So this is a bunch of code, a bunch of Oracle, what's it called, PL SQL code that fires on insert of a new feature to routes or on update of a new feature to routes. And it does a little testing, tells you if your attributes are invalid for the type of route that you're trying to add in. And then it does some more stuff. It constructs basically the route pre field with this concatenation of a bunch of things. Then it sets the Oracle length value. So this is something that's really cool, and frankly, we don't use much in your implementation, is the fact that Oracle Oracle, the Oracle database is, even separate from Geomedia, is a GIS unto itself. And it's a GIS without a user interface. So what I mean by that is that it knows what spatial data is, and it understands independently of Geomedia, like relationships between geometries, and it understands geometry in general. So like if you wanted to, you could literally do like spatial queries as SQL directly in Oracle. Again, we're not doing any of that, but you can. And in this case, what we're doing is a simple query of, okay, letting Oracle go look at the geometry and figure out the length of that geometry and save that information in that length field. And the reason why we're saving it is because we're going to use it for the purpose of calibration in the near future. The next thing we're doing is populating the date on which this new feature was created, the date and time, actually. And then here we're running a bunch of logic to populate route ID. You know, if this, then that kind of stuff. And if you're interested, I mean, I can go through the details of all this logic, but you'll find that it, for the most part, works.
If I knew SQL better, I might ask, but I don't, so it would probably require more time and effort than it's really worth.
Okay, that's fine. I think what you'll find is, well, here, the bottom line is this. I'm going to put just a random update value in here and say, okay. And I'm showing you what I don't know, might be construed as a shortcoming of this trigger, which is what's going to happen is I think what we'll get back won't be what you want when I say okay. So I'm going to say okay, look at it again. Oh, and look at that, it did work, damn it. Try to show you something that I built that doesn't work, and then of course it works. Let's try it now. Oh, there. See how now it's SHS.
Yeah, so it keeps tagging SHS on every time you do an update to it.
That's right. So the reality is when you're doing updates, if you have values in your free and full fields, just delete them. Put in what you want.
How hard would it be, I don't know how practical this is, but how hard would it be to add something to the code that, well, no, I guess that wouldn't work, never mind. I was going to say add something to the code that if it sees something in that field, it doesn't add something, or if it sees the SHS, then it doesn't add anything new to it.
You know, it's not that hard. I mean, there's definitely a perfect set of logic to implement. I'll just say I'm not if I knew exactly what the perfect set of logic is, then I could do it. But sometimes, right now, I just don't even know what to aim for exactly. What we have now is pretty good. The worst case scenario is you just have to blow this stuff out so that you're sure that what it constructs is what you want. And it's only a problem on update, not on insert. Follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but the majority of our changes are going to be update, not insert.
You know, you might be surprised.
Well, actually, I can't say that for the all roads because I don't have any knowledge of the all roads. But as far as the on system is concerned, the majority of our changes are going to be update, not insert. We don't add new highways very often. We change them with some regularity, though.
Yeah. Well, you know, remember too, though, that unlike in the ArcGIS world, routes are constructed from a series of individual route segment records that share a common route ID. I think I've talked to you about this, Tim, that I have to Lars. But that's sort of the biggest fundamental difference in the way data is constructed for LRS in Geomedia versus ArcGIS. So what that means is that it may be the case fairly often that you'll have to, for example, split a segment. And what that really means is you're taking what was one record, deleting it, and replacing it with two new ones. So what may have felt like an update before is actually two inserts. I don't know. You know, another thing too I want to point out is that when I've been double clicking on this orange line here, it really has been selecting from the orange layer. And if you look closely at the attributes of the orange layer, there's fewer of them than there are if we were taking it from the, just display this off, from the gray stuff, from the just core routes. That's because the routes includes all this extraneous street name stuff. Let me bounce this.
So where state routes actually have street names, what are we doing in those instances? Are we just disregarding their actual street name?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you are. Well, you know, there might not be any harm in putting it in there, but I would argue that it's a misnomer to think of any of the street names as actual street names. They are really there for the purpose of creating appropriately unique route IDs. And if you really do want a street names layer, it should be an event layer. It's just an attribute, right? That's I know that's a little confusing because, you know, we have street names in the core data. Like, why not just use it? And I'm sure that you will in many cases, but I'm willing to guess that at some point down the line, these street name based route IDs are going to get converted into something a little bit more, what's the word?
Concise?
More generic. Yeah, more concise, more generic. Like just random, you know, numbers or UUIDs or something like that. I'm going to delete this guy. By the way, I know this is confusing. To delete a record in Geomedia, use the delete button, not the delete geometry button. It vexes me that this button is all huge and this one's all small because I've never used this button before. What this does is it allows the record to continue to exist in the table, but it deletes the geometry from the geometry value from the record.
Maybe you want to completely alter the geometry and you just want to start from scratch.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, that's the only thing I could think of, which that might be useful.
But even then, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's a use case for it. I just don't know what it is. I mean, I'll just say that the issue I have with with this tool to satisfy the use case you just put out there is that there's no way in a map view, if you delete the geometry, there's no way to identify that record that you want to add to.
Oh, I see. Because I can think of a way, because you could still do it in something like ArcMap, you could just have the table open, select the table, start editing.
Yeah.
You know, and as long as that record's selected, then the geometry that you're making will apply to that record.
I'm sure you're probably right. That is the logical way to make the association. Yeah, select it in in data view or something. Anyhow, the point is I never use this button. I always use this one. So I'm going to just select that, delete it. This time around, let me turn this view back on. I'm going to do a street and off system insert. So insert, this, what I'm going to do now is going to be, I think, your more common use case. So adding a line, all right, street type is street, or route type is street. Route county is
in San Diego.
Yeah. San Diego. I started typing and it went to what I want. Jurisdiction is probably county. Oh, maybe it's Oceanside up there. So CO.
Well, yeah. If you're in Camp Pendleton, it's Ocean. It's county. Yeah.
All right. So county. Street name is Test Street. Notice we separate the suffix from the street name. There's no requirement that you have a suffix, just so you know. And so in this case, we don't need a route pre. And then carriage flag, call it primary. And then that's it. Okay. Let's just go prove to ourselves that everything did what it was supposed to. Yep.
So you got a trigger that works on these two then.
Yep.
Does it have the same issue where it, if you went to update it, that it would apply the extraneous information at the front end, the way that SHS does?
Let me change the geometry and see what happens. Edit. So this is an update just as much as any other edit is. Okay. Did you see how I did that, by the way? Sorry, I should have done that a little slow.
Edit. Clicked on
highlighted the feature, press the edit. This shows you the vertexes, and you can start doing stuff like that. And then I pressed escape to sort of end my edit session. Oh, look at that. Seems to work without messing things up. Okay, so there's that, and then, you know, in the real world, wherever, so I'm going to do another insert to routes. Wherever there is a cross street, the standard is to, darn it, yeah, discard, try again. Okay. Notice it inherits the attributes from the previous entry.
Huh. So if you went in and would you have to delete the route pre and the route ID full from this and change the name, and that would repopulate it?
Yeah. Yeah. So
you can give it a new street name.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's give this test 2 have, and say okay to that. Okay, and then continue. God, it keeps going to jurisdiction. I wonder why. So there's snaps, by the way. I'm going to turn off my snaps, except for the endpoint snap, because what I really want to do is snap to the endpoint of this guy. Right. I should have done that in a different order. Sorry. But okay. Test, street, get rid of all this stuff. Okay. So what I'm trying to show you, and not quite as well as I'd like to, is that test street will begin with this segment, which is one record, and then end with this separate segment, which is another record. And they share a common route ID. And then at this point, all that's left to do is calibrate them. It's basically apply begin and end measure to these two segments.
Which is easy to do on the all roads.
Yeah, this is all roads that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's easy to do. I mean, let's just do this totally manually. I mean, there's a tool for doing this, but let's start manually just so we know how to do it, like what's really going on. So we can just literally say, okay, well, we know that routes go south to north, west to east, and this route is separate from this route, right? Because they have different route IDs. So let's calibrate this route. Oh, good. Just making sure we're being recorded. So this is obviously the begin segment of the route, and it begins at 0, as all routes do, and it's going to end at this number, 4.483. And OK. I'm going to double check it didn't munge our route ID. OK, good. And then for this, I have to unlocatable this for reasons that we've already talked about. This, I am going to, it's 4.483, right? For its begin.
Yes.
And its end is 4.483 plus 1.905. Let me just do the math here, unless somebody can do it in their head faster than I can do it.
Probably not.
4.483 plus 1.905 equals that. 6.388. 0.388. Wham! We've got a calibrated route.
Nice.
So let's do this. Let's make another route. Except this time use the tool, the calibration tool, because the reality is that a long route can get really complicated, and doing it by hand, the measures by hand like that could really be a pain. Let me show you one other thing too. This whole notion of inheriting the attributes from the last one that you entered, it's a configuration. You can go into Geomedia, go to Options here.
Well, actually, I kind of like it. I think it's handy. It's just that you have to be really on the ball about the order in which you do things.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
To maximize its benefit.
Yep. Let me just show you where you can control it though. It's here. Let's see. When copy data. No. Okay. Placement and editing. Copy attribute values from previous feature. So if I uncheck that, that wouldn't happen anymore.
I see. It would just be blank every time.
Yes, exactly. it's worth, as you become more familiar with Geomedia and like the editing sort of approach that it assumes, the more you'll want to explore these configuration options, and you'll find them handy, I'm sure. Anyhow, all that to say, in the end, I'm just going to leave that on. And all right, and create another route. This time we're going to use the actual tool. Boy, I don't remember ever testing the tool on this machine, so it works. All right, this time we're going to call it sample street. Get rid of all that, everything. All right, so there's sample street, and the second segment of sample street. See, now it's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's even add a third segment of sample street. Okay. You just want to check those attributes one last time, make sure we're good. All right. That's 2406, and this one is something less, right? Yeah, 1724. All right. Just making sure the triggers did what we wanted. So, okay, so now we're going to go this LRS thing. So this LRS tab is available only when you have Geomedia Transportation Manager, which is an extension to Geomedia, installed on your machine. So this is what we're looking at here are some extension tools. And what we want is the calibration button. Now, if we look, we don't have any really good options. We could calibrate all of the routes layer, but we don't want that. And if you do that, if you recalibrate the entire routes layer, you'll mess up the data. What we want to do is isolate what we're calibrating to just this one route. So one way to do that is to write a query in Geomedia, and this is a lot like, this is what I would call the analogy to a definition query.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do is go to analysis, just write an attribute query. And in Geomedia, one thing that's pretty cool is you can write queries on layers that are available, and you can write queries on queries that you've written. So let me just show you. LRS routes, where route ID full equals, what was it, sample street? Sample street P and is SDCO. By the way, if I press this show values thing, it would show you all the distinct route IDs that are in the data set. Here, let me just show you. It might take a second, but oh, yeah, not bad. So we could say SDCO street P. There it is.
There it is.
And then bring it down. Okay. It by default names it attribute query. My standard is to say AQ underscore. I don't know. It's kind of just, I have sort of I have my own sort of standard way of naming queries within Geomedia.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm happy to teach you, but you know, there's no rule that you have to. It's meaningful to me. And the reason it's important, well, we'll talk about it later. Okay, so now we have this new quote-unquote layer. of AQ LRS routes with 3 features, right? And the processing that defines this quote-unquote layer occurs entirely in Geomedia, on the client in Geomedia. So let me just show you something. So if I go in, so if I display this off for a minute and go edit this, vector, edit. So I'm changing the underlying routes layer from which this query is built. And now I turn this back on. And the inverse is true as well. So I'm selecting the query layer. Here, I'll do it here. Edit that. It knows the routes layer is moving with it. Because, again, Geomedia is aware that this is a query of this.
Right.
So, okay, back to our calibration. Okay, let's calibrate. Calibrate what? Well, now that we have a query built, that's a layer that's available for calibration. Select it. The LRS model, and this is important, should look like this. Here, let me bring that down here. Route ID is the LRS key field. The route ID full is the LRS key field. Begin measure and end measure. If you do this once or whatever, it remembers. But just, this has to be right. Say okay to that. Great. More configurations. So the next question is basically use a field value for segment length. It's basically asking, do you want to use a field value for segment length or the geometry of the feature? And this is non-intuitive, but you want to use a field value. You want to use that Oracle calculated, that OR length value. And the reason for this is really is critical. Is on statewide scale, lengths vary quite a bit depending on the coordinate system you're basing your length calculation on. And if you don't set your geo workspace coordinate system just perfectly right, it's setting you up to incorrectly calculate the length and therefore create issues with your dynamics, with your events that you'll dynamically segment on top of it. So that's why I implemented that trigger in Oracle to populate this, so that it's you never have to worry so much about the configuration of the geo workspace. It just does the math based on what's populated into that OR length attribute. You want to tell it that the length field unit is miles. The route direction is not by digitized direction, because we could have started up here and ended down here, right? But instead, the route direction is by compass. South to north, west to east. And then for gap options, we have 3 possibilities: map distance as gap distance. So if there's a gap in the route, how are you going to handle that? The standard is 0.001 miles. So wherever there's a gap, it increments that much at the other side of the gap. Which I realize the TSN routes does not do that. And That's okay. So anyhow, between these things, for the benefit of the video here, these are the configurations. This is it. This is how you configure a calibration on all roads. That's pretty important right there. All right. So, okay, that. Ooh, look at that. Changed. Okay, just that's right. All right, let's say okay. Now, if we look in here, we've got begin and end measures. There you go. So the truth is, you know, you could have, I mean, in this case, we only had one route, and with 3 segments, like big deal. What if you've got 100 routes, each of which has 20 segments? You know, Geomedia will crank those out in short order, assuming that the route construction is valid.
Right.
Basically, assuming you've got routes with no spurs and with valid route IDs and that kind of stuff. There's another workflow for doing pretty much the same thing using this tool. Honestly, I'm not quite as familiar with this tool. But let's try it. What the hell? This is interactive calibration, so I'm kind of learning as I look at it with you. The point of interactive calibration is that you point and click at the route that you want to do stuff to, so that you want to calibrate. Here, let me do this. Let me go back to this guy and get rid of these. Well, since this is a layer, I can say display data window. All right, so here's a data window of our 3 records that can compose this route. And I'm going to blast out their calibration. All right, that's done. And let's do it interactively now. So what we want to do is, LRS features are in there. Model is probably already set. Okay. Use field length or length. Start and length. Start with begin measure at first selected segment or start at 0. Let's start at 0. Because the begin measure at the first selected segment doesn't exist. It's null. Let's see what happens. So if you need to know what to do next, you always have this. Locate the first segment of the route, right click to exit. So, okay, here's the first segment of the route. Well, that's annoying. Okay, that seemed to work. Okay, locate the next segment on the route, right click to end the route. Something. Well, I'm going to unlocatable that. Maybe that'll solve it. Come on. If I display this off. If I, it wants to be at the beginning. You see what it's asking? There, okay. But you know what? The reason it was giving me that heartache is because of the snapping. Right now, it's only set to snap on endpoints. Okay, so now right-click to end the route. I just right-click. Okay, let's end the route. Okay. Now it's giving me this. Fill in all route key and measure values, overwrite existing. Fill in measure values on segments that match the input key values. All. Begin, end. Let's recalculate end for kicks. Okay. Okay. Let's see if it did what we expect. Did I close that data window? I guess I did. Oh. Here, let's just access it this way. Yep. Looks like it worked.
So hey, Adam.
Yeah.
Would you mind if I took like a 2 or 3 minute break?
No, it's all good.
We'll use the restroom really fast.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, I'll be back.
Okay, I'll be here. I'm gonna stop the recording. All right. So let me do this. I guess the first thing I should do is get rid of this fake data that I made. And so what I'm doing right now, by the way, is holding the Shift key, and now I can select multiple features. And
you can't just draw a box around them and select them all.
You can, but if I did that, I'd get a bunch of other features.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Delete. And locate on these guys. Delete.
Could you have selected them from the query and deleted them?
Yes. Actually, I did select them. I selected the first ones from the query.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You know, it might be kind of fun. I can, so because both you and I are on the same network, I can save this Geo workspace, save as, let's put it on the desktop, LRS, edit. Actually, I'll just LRST1.LRS edit. Save that, close it, and email it to Lars.
Maybe what I'll do is before next week, I'll try to get the updated version of Geomedia on my machine.
Yeah, that would be good.
We just put in a ticket, huh?
Yeah. Whatever the procedure is.
Try that again. So since both, as this is just like an MXD, right? It's not. There's no data that lives in this file. It's a small file. Let's see, 52 kilobytes. So I'm going to email this to you guys.
Okay.
And since your machines can see the same Oracle database that this VM can see, you can use this workspace. You can just double click on it and it should just work.
Okay.
You'll see exactly as it existed when I saved it. Let's see here if I can figure out how to send. There we go. So I'm going to make Lars the presenter.
Okay.
And I am going to do my absolute darndest to not take control of keyboard and mouse and sit back and relax and just throw darts at you as you try to do this.
Okay. Show my screen. So I can just double click on GWS.
I believe so.
Okay. Let's read only.
Maybe copy it to your local drive instead of opening it from the email.
Yeah. Because we want to write too, right? We just don't want to read. Okay.
I'm going to ask this question just for the benefit of the video. I think you guys get this, but I just want to double, triple check that you guys are clear that what I sent you is equivalent to an MXD.
Mm-hmm.
It does not. It isn't like sending. What I sent you is not the equivalent of a shapefile or a personal geodatabase.
Right.
It's a workspace that has a connection to a data source. Understanding that distinction between the view of the data and the data itself is it's just an important concept.
Look how clean your desktop is, Lars.
So we're just going to open this up right here.
Yay. How long did that take to open, Lars?
Oh, it was quick.
Less than, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's great. It would probably be worth just testing to see how long it would take to just remove the spatial filter and load the whole state with the data in about this condition. I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be a short amount of time. But
yeah,
it might be faster than it was.
Yeah, I'm guessing 2 minutes. 2 minutes would be my.
You want to try it?
On what we think.
We're going to try it?
Yeah, I mean let's do it. Worst case scenario is we kill Geomedia and just restart with this. So yeah, so do you remember how to remove the spatial filter?
This guy right here. Right?
Here, yep.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to start a timer. Gosh.
Okay.
You want to zoom out to the whole state, or does it matter?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the whole state. It doesn't matter. It's pulling in the whole state.
We'll just leave it here.
It's going to load the whole thing, even though it's not able to.
It's not
it's outside the bounds of the screen.
Yeah, it'll still load.
Now, is it like ArcMap, where every time you scroll, it has to reload the whole thing? It tries to redraw the whole thing.
It doesn't seem to be. The logic seems to be a little different. I mean, it's not a slippy map by any stretch, like a Google map kind of response time, but but it's faster than ArcMap. It doesn't redraw the whole thing, no. Yeah, there's some caching mechanism that Geomedia does. Oh, while we're waiting, something worth pointing out is there's no concept in this editing workflow of versioning. I want to be really clear about that. So you know how in ArcMap, like you initiate an edit session, you do your editing, and then you end your edit session, which in turn pushes your edits to the database.
Right.
It doesn't work like that in Geomedia. Geomedia works on a short transaction basis, which means that like when I inserted a feature, it immediately wrote that feature to the database. You edit. Then after you insert it, you make an edit, it immediately updates that feature or edits the feature in the database, which is nice because it's simple, and everybody who is reading that source data set can see those edits right away. The downside is that there's no concept of versioning or version management.
Right.
Bottom line is last one in wins.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can still have multiple people editing the database because the changes are only going to apply to that record. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So you can have, I could be working on something in one county and Lars could be working on something in another county. And even if we both, and it's not like...
Okay, just loaded.
As long as the change is on separate records, they're not going to overwrite. So it's not like when you make a change to, say, a shapefile, it is a change to the whole shapefile, even if you're dealing with just one record.
You're exactly right.
Okay, and that's because that makes a lack of versioning very manageable.
Yeah, no, I agree. My opinion is that the overhead of having version control is almost never worth the benefit. The only time I can think where version control really matters is when you're doing mobile editing, like field-based mobile editing, where you really got to, have these QA/QC workflows before it actually gets posted to the master database and all that kind of stuff. But that's just not the case here. By the way,
well, how long was that, Adam? How long was it? 4 minutes?
I timed 2 minutes 42 seconds, but okay. I started my timer probably 30 seconds into it, so I'd call it 3 minutes 10 seconds.
3 minutes. That's not bad for the whole state.
No, I say it's perfectly reasonable, and it's quite a bit faster, by the way, than the last time I did that with the old Oracle database, which is great. That means that I did a whole bunch of things, just DBA things, to the underlying database to improve performance, and it's good to see that it worked.
It used to be horrendous.
Yeah. I've heard that your old SDE implementation was like...
Yeah, there was a lot of things. There was a lot of things wrong. It wasn't just one thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just streaming the data across the wire was one of them.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I mean, if you look at that routes layer, what, 2,122,041 records. That's that's a lot of.
Yeah, that's fast for all that.
Yeah.
Cool. We want to zoom out, but then it'll refresh, right?
You know what? Give it one click. Well, dude, I'm getting some strange. What is that? My computer's making a funny sound. It's freaking me out.
Uh-oh.
Okay, let me pause and turn the recording back on. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, zoom out one click, see what happens.
Yeah, see, I guess what I was
not great.
See how it redrew, but it redrew actually very quickly. It's not like I had to reload the whole thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So So that's good.
Try a pan. Let's see how a pan goes for you. It could be worse.
Yeah. It's a lot, way better than it used to be.
Cool.
So whatever you did, Adam, was a good thing.
Honestly, all I did is I followed the instructions of what the Oracle guru at Integraph told me to do.
Now we're way out.
Takes a little longer to redraw when you're that far out, but still very, very manageable.
Yeah, that's fast. So let's just move this back here.
Let's see. Oh, I had an idea a second ago and I just lost it. Oh well. All right. Well, let's digitize a route, a fake route.
Okay. So let's see. We want somewhere not so crowded.
Yeah, whatever works for you.
Zero.
Good to me.
There's a nice big empty space.
Yeah.
So let's see. Go to the vector tab. Insert feature. Is this the box I'm looking for? What happened to the little box? Is this one right here?
That's it. Yeah, you can move it.
Yeah.
You can. It's dockable, so you can move it wherever you want it.
Okay. Let's see. Just grab it like somewhere I can grab it.
Left-hand side. There's those little dots on the left-hand side of the dockable thing. There we go.
Okay. So we're going to say we're going to insert it into this guy, point by point. So now I can just start going nuts, huh?
Yep.
Okay. So let's see. Now I go to, well, I guess first I can click on, look at the bottom one.
What do you, so it's asking you to give it some attributes.
Right.
Because remember, like I just said, it's immediately going to the database. So it's, before it pushes it into the database, it wants to know what attributes it has.
Okay. So let's see. Oh, you know what? I didn't even check what county this was.
That's all right. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay. Searchlight was it? P.
So I actually ordered these attributes in what, I don't know, I thought made sense in terms of the order you'd want to enter them in.
Uh-huh.
The first thing you want to identify is what route type are we talking about?
Right. Okay, we'll call it a street. I don't know what county this is, but we'll just say it's. Street name. What's the second one?
It's street name suffix.
Okay.
There you go. Come on. You darn thing.
Stubborn, huh?
Yeah.
Just doesn't want to move for me. Oh, well.
Well, take my word for it. It's suffix.
Okay. Let's see, route. Oh, what's the route pre?
So you, on a street, I should write a document for you, but when basically the business rules for constructing the route ID full are are different depending on what route type it is. And some require you to enter route pre-information and some don't. But basically, those that use street name information to construct the route ID don't require street pre-information.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's a very long, yeah, that's a long way of saying you can leave nothing in there.
Leave that blank, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the route ID full is going to be Alpine Alturas Test T, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I think you're done.
Huh?
I think that you're
Yeah,
done.
and then when you hit
Yep.
OK and select it again, it should load everything up, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So press, yeah, you can, if you press escape when you have any command initiated, it'll go back to your select tool.
Oh, okay. There it is, Alpine Alturas Test. We don't know if any of that's right, but it's just a test.
Fine.
Okay, so that all worked.
Yeah. Maybe just for kicks, let's calibrate this guy.
Okay. So
using the calibration tool.
Right, so we go to LRS, calibrate, and the LRS is, let's see, so it's in here. Okay.
Jim, can you help him?
Primary is going to be...
Hey, Lars,
yeah.
Stop.
Stop.
No, press cancel. Because if you continue down this route, no pun intended, you're going to recalibrate the entire routes layer, all 2 million and change.
So I need to isolate the route and then do an attribute query.
Wasn't it in the next dropdown, or was it in this dropdown? I thought it was in. So it was the LRS model, right?
So what you need to do is you need to isolate the route that you want to calibrate, and you will do that with an attribute query.
Okay, so I need to get out of here and go to analysis.
For what it's worth, I already built an attribute query. It just happens to be querying for a different route, the route that I digitized down in San Diego.
Oh, okay. So I
what
can use that.
You can do, yeah, you can. So cancel out of this.
Okay.
Press the queries button on the far left.
There it is, right there.
Double click on that. And now all you have to do is change the definition of the query.
Okay. So that was, I was going to copy and paste, but I guess I can't do that, huh? I got to remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, honestly, what I would do is just get out of all this and go back to the feature and copy the route ID out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I could guess, but like ALP, RIS, test, but if I'm wrong, it won't work.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So you got to dismiss this thing too in order to get back to the map.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go like this. So I want this right here.
So. Generally, if I could just say also, like, if you're bringing up this form, but not with the intention of changing any data, it's good practice to press cancel when you're done rather than OK. Because if you press OK, what you're telling it is that you want to, if you did inadvertently change something, then that will that will be recorded as a change that you want.
Okay.
And if you press, you see what I'm saying? But if you press cancel,
I see what you're saying.
This is it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll cancel it. Okay.
All right.
Then I'll go back to queries. Let's see, properties.
You got it.
guess just close.
It worked.
There it is. Yeah, it's in purple. Okay, good. So now it's only selecting that. It isolated that route. So now I can go back to LRS, calibration. Go here. Length field name. Oh, gotta go like this. How come I'm grayed out?
That's why.
I gotta fill in stuff. So let's see. Wasn't it full?
Yeah.
Right there. Okay. And then this was miles. 2D. This is begin measure. This is end measure. And then I think that's it.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Now I can use this. Is hour length, miles, by compass direction, north, west to east, good. Gap was 0.001. Is that it?
I think so. Looks good.
All right. Okay.
Cool. Now go check that those begin and end measure values are filled in.
Okay. Zero, 38.16.
So I saw begin. I didn't see end. Could you bring up that attribute?
Sure.
Those attributes again?
I just saw the length. Oh, it does have a begin measure of 0. It doesn't have an end measure.
Huh.
It should be 38.
I wonder what happened.
Right?
Yeah, it should be. I don't know what happened.
Huh.
I'm curious to see. I expected that to work. Let's
should go back and look.
Try it again. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'll do. I think do that workflow again. While you're doing it, I'm going to go test for that record in the database itself.
Okay.
Do you know the record ID offhand?
No, I don't remember it.
Okay. I'll like star from routes. Where?
Record ID is 2164115.
2641115.
No. 2164115.
Okay. 2164115.
Okay.
All right, got it. Yeah, and measure null. Okay.
Measure null. What did I do wrong?
I don't know.
I thought I did everything.
Yeah, it looked like you did to me. But whatever. There's a reason for it.
Yeah. So let's see. What should I do?
Let's just try it again.
Okay. You mean just do a whole nother insert feature?
No, let's do let's calibrate again.
Oh, okay. All right, calibration. So we know that AQ, that's good. We know, we'll look at the properties here. Route ID full, begin measure, end measure, miles is the unit. So, and yeah, why wouldn't end measure show up?
You know, I wonder if it is a funky route in the sense that it well, no, it's clear where the begin and the end is.
Right, yeah, it's not overlapping. Okay, so we're going to say OK here.
Yeah.
Use OK.
Oh, look, begin measure was the, well, okay.
Right. Yeah. I remember changing that to aura length, miles.
No, I remember too, but it's weird. You got to. I've been pwned by that thing. it switches.
It just reverts back to the default or something.
Yeah, or to the first one in the list.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So maybe that messed things up. Okay, by construction, south to north, west to east.
It looks good to me.
Okay, let's try it again. Try it again.
Okay. Is it still thinking?
Looks like it is. The box is still here.
That's not good. I'm afraid we're editing routes.
Uh-oh. It's good this is a test.
Yeah.
It's good we're in test mode, not
yeah. No, it's
this is what Alla was talking about.
Yeah, that's right. You know, I wonder if there's something I can do to prevent that, like at the database level. You know,
it's kind of a safeguard.
Yeah, like if like it's finding that there's the update is occurring across the whole. Yeah, I should put some thought to that. Yeah, you know what? Close Geomedia. Force close Geomedia.
Just okay. Just go like that. Do not save the changes.
Well, it doesn't matter. All you're saving when you say yes is the style choices and the spatial filters and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see here. So I'm gonna select from routes where route or begin mesh is null. Or you know what I could do? Say where create TMS, create TMS.
What's this? Oh, this is the whole one.
I'm just checking to see if I can figure out whether or not stuff actually was edited or not.
Okay. Did it matter that I had another workspace open?
No, I don't think so.
That wouldn't make any difference. Okay.
I know, Geosis. God, edit modification log. Today is March 9. 109 modifications. I don't think we did any permanent harm.
I hope not.
Well, I mean, I know we didn't do any permanent. We didn't do any harm that I'll have to fix, I don't think.
Okay.
I
wonder what happened.
Well, either we didn't see that the LRS routes was there, or I don't know. Let's just try it again. Let's go back to the beginning. And
okay.
Typical GIS stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
No, let's just do it in this little area here.
Yeah, yeah.
We had our.
I don't need to.
We had our fun.
Yeah, we had our fun with our whole state thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to vector, insert feature. I don't like it down here. Okay. So, oh, I gotta do the whole thing over again, huh?
Yeah.
can't use, okay, so I can't use routes, so I need to.
Oh no, you can use routes to create
a
route.
Okay, point by point. Okay, so we'll just go.
And now realize you're digitizing outside of the spatial filter. So what that means
that's true.
is that,
okay.
Yeah, even.
Okay, so let's just delete this.
So you can press escape and it'll just go away.
Okay.
Or yeah, that works too.
Yes. Okay. All right, so let's zoom in a little bit more. Okay. So type is, we're going to say it's a street. Doesn't matter. Street name. Test. Maybe that's tough. What's that?
Oh, I'm seeing some details in the stuff that I calibrated.
Yeah.
That, like, it doesn't round the begin and end measures to the third decimal place. I'm gonna need to do some magic to make that happen, right?
Okay, let's go escape. Now let's see what it says. Amador City test. Okay. Cancel. Okay, so now we're going to try and calibrate it.
Yeah. Did you copy that route ID?
This one right here.
I guess that's easy enough to remember.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay. Copy. Okay, so we're going to cancel. Okay, so now we're going to go to LRS calibration. Properties, route ID default, miles, begin measure and measure. Okay, that should be good.
I'm sorry, could I see that again? I just want to.
Sure. Route ID, miles.
Yeah.
Begin and
okay.
end. Okay.
So go ahead and say okay. But let me point out something. It's okay. So the LRS features as attribute query of LRS routes, and that's a good thing because you're not doing it against the whole darn layer.
Right.
However, you never did update your attribute query of LRS routes to query for the right thing. If you look in your legend, there's 0 features in that layer.
Right. Okay. So I can't use this yet. I forget that part.
That's all right.
So I cancel.
It's definitely, yeah, you can cancel. It's definitely one of the big differences between Geomedia and ArcGIS is the way that queries work.
Yeah.
The thing that's really powerful about Geomedia is that you can write these queries, and not just attribute queries, but spatial queries and all kinds of cool aggregation queries and stuff, and then you can write queries upon queries upon queries. So they start existing as layers that you can issue additional queries against. It's sort of like it's a little bit like Model Builder, except better because the result doesn't have to be a physical output.
I see. Okay. So how do I get this? I forget.
Go to analysis and bring up your set of queries, which is just set of one query, and then change the thing you're looking for in there.
Okay. Let's see if it'll still paste. Oh, that's it.
All right. Cool.
Close. Okay, now I can do it. Okay, so we go to route ID, miles, begin, and measure. Should be okay. There we go. Or length. This is miles. By compass, south to north, west to east, and 0.001 miles. Okay, here we go.
All right. Cool. Looks like it worked. Let's see if the values got in there. Jeez Louise, what the hell is going on?
I did everything.
Okay. Yes, you did. You did it right. There's no doubt you did it right. What I'm going to do is I'm opening Geomedia on my side. I'm going to do the same thing.
And see if you get a different result, a better result.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm tempted to blame Geomedia or like your version of Geomedia.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, you're doing everything right. So.
Okay. So I should just.
Could you zoom out a little bit so I can see where that line is?
Oh, sure.
Or you know what?
Let's see. Zoom out.
All right. So I see it. All right. Here, I'll show my screen so you can see what I'm doing.
Okay.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. Here's your feature. Proof that the end measure didn't get captured for some stupid reason. I just copy this. Update my attribute query routes.
Are you doing anything right now? Because I can't see.
Oh, really?
Any changes? Do I need to change?
Sorry. No, I had you looking at.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I have two monitors just like you, and
Okay.
Okay, so you see where I am. I've got my attribute query set up, and here's the feature, and I'm going to go to LRS. We're going to calibrate. Going to calibrate on the query. Route ID full, begin, end.
Miles. Yeah.
Miles.
Good.
Use
length.
Aura length. Length unit is miles. By compass, south to north, west to east. Gap, 0.001. Say OK. Before I press OK, like this is a major update operation. Honestly, my habit, like before I do anything that's that could have ramifications, like is I should double check. A, am I looking at the right layer?
Right.
And B, like let's make sure that that layer only has one feature in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I got you.
All right. There.
Drum roll.
To be done. And it works for me.
Oh, come on.
I'm pretty sure it's the software.
So what do I need to do?
Yeah, that's important to know.
Do this, okay, let's start with this. Help this, do that on your machine and verify that your build is 10203.
Okay. Let's see.
Geomedia desktop.
Let's see. Was the help on the home tab?
No, it's like here. I'll do it again for you.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see you do it.
This thing.
Let me put this
And
over. Okay. Oh, that. Okay. You just and then go to help and Geomedia desktop about. Huh. I've got the hexagon sign, but there's. Let me see if I can do this again. Okay. So help, Geomedia desktop, and just help from there. No, that's not it.
About.
About. Okay.
Or as the Canadian hexagon.
Yeah.
You know, technical support people would say they say about.
About. You know what? I get the hexagon, but there's no. It just says Power Portfolio Producer Suite.
What, dude? Huh.
Yeah. It doesn't have any of the info. Now, were you going to the Transportation Manager or the desktop?
Desktop. Starting with desktop.
Yeah, that's what I did, and I get this Producer Suite Power Portfolio Hexagon Geospatial, and that's all it says.
Okay, let's do this. I'm going to write down exactly what software versions I'm using. So, Geomedia desktop
let's see.
version 15.00.0000 build 10203. There's that.
Okay.
I mean, this way you have a
yeah, I'm
trying a target.
I'm going to open up another workspace and see if it tells me, because I thought I saw that earlier today, but now it's taken forever to.
And I'm going to email this information to you guys.
Okay. I don't know why I'm trying to open up another workspace and it's not opening.
Yeah, it does that when people are on the phone waiting.
Yeah, I know. Why do I just get this blank thing with no version number or anything?
I'm going to change back to viewing your desktop so I can see what your
okay.
What your
Let me bring it back over then. Why will you not move? Now it's like I'm frozen.
computer freaking out?
Yep. I'm just trying to move it from the other screen, from my other monitor back to this one, and it's frozen.
Oh no. Huh. There's, you know what I would do is I would right click on the Geomedia thing in the task pane close to your start button over there.
Yeah.
And say like bring to front or something. Usually what's going on is there's some kind of a dialog box open somewhere, but it's hidden behind something else, and
okay.
or just force close Geomedia. I mean, that's the worst case scenario.
Right. And
no big deal.
it's frozen, so I can't. Well, let's see. Okay, so just go like this. Nope, I'm frozen. I can't do anything.
All right, just force close Geomedia. Just use the task window to end process or whatever.
While we're going through this, I'm going to use the restroom again really fast.
All right, it's all good.
All right, I'll be back.
Okay.
System cannot end this program because it's waiting for a response from you.
I just press in. Just say in now.
Okay.
Just get rid of it. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. It's gone. So, well, I just emailed you guys the exact versions that I'm working on that we know work.
You may have a more updated version than I do. And
Yeah.
I know it's more updated than Tim.
Okay.
If he's still sick.
What's that?
Because he doesn't even have 15 yet.
Yeah, I realize that. I mean, honestly, though, just because one version is more up-to-date than another doesn't mean it's any less, well, buggy. Like, there's often, like, something will work in an older version and then not work in a newer version. I mean, that's just the case with software in general. That's not unique to Geomedia. Anyhow, what I know is that workflow works in the version that I have loaded on the virtual machine that I have in your network. So that's my statement, and I stand by it. You know.
Okay.
Anyhow, you know, I think we've done enough. I mean,
enough for today?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we put a pretty good dent in it.
Oh, yeah. No, I do too. I feel like it's going real well.
Good.
Are there any questions I don't know, I mean.
Maybe not right now, but I'm sure I'll have some more as I get more into it.
Okay. Well, look, I'll probably repeat this when Tim is back, but I guess what I'm thinking about is, you know, what would be helpful for you to learn between now and next time we meet? It seems like, you know, it would probably be good if you, both of you guys bring your software versions up so they're consistent with what I have. Okay. And you know what I'll do is I'll make sure that you have access to all the software installers to do that.
Oh, that'd be good, yeah.
Because I've got them ready to go. So that's homework item number 1.
I missed that. What was the assignment?
Oh,
well, this is his assignment.
Oh, okay.
This is both of your assignments. Is to make your software versions consistent with mine.
I see.
So that's homework assignment 1. Homework assignment 2, I would say, is to digitize and calibrate 2 routes. About that.
So is it just you just have version 15, right?
Yeah, but there's versions within versions.
Yeah.
Is that what the problem is?
Maybe. That's my best. I mean, you know, that's my best guess. Is that there's some bug in the version of that Lars is running. It's preventing the appropriate update of that end measure value. Anyhow, what we proved is that it works on mine, doesn't work on his. And we know that there's a discrepancy between the versions. So
almost certainly whatever version I get will be the same version that Lars has.
Well, I just emailed you the exact versions that I have.
Uh-huh.
So there's no there's no question. Like these are that's the version that I have. Whether it'll fix the problem or not, we'll see.
And you have some installers that we can use to get to that?
Yes. and I will make sure that you get access to those installers. And if you have admin rights to your own machines, then
yes, we do. Yeah.
Then you can do.
So we don't even need a ticket or anything. We can just do it ourselves. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that. So again, yeah, I guess the homework is get your software versions up to date, and if you can, digitize a few routes, and try not to
digitize
blow
and
up the whole routes layer
calibrate.
process.
Yeah.
And if you do, don't worry about it. I've got backups galore of the data, and it's no problem.
And when you say digitize 2 routes, you mean just make them up like I've been doing?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And so you sent us your version. Did you send us an email yet?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. Version 15 build. Okay. Okay.
All right, guys. Kim, any questions before we sign off?
No, not that I can think of right now. I might possibly have some questions once I actually start doing it myself, once I have the upgraded version of Geomedia. But it seemed relatively straightforward.
Oh.
I mean, I followed what you were doing fine. And, you know, I saw what was going on with Lars. I mean, it didn't make sense, but it seemed like that was something that was you were both struggling to figure out, so I guess it was just me. So yeah, but usually until I have a chance to actually work through it myself, that's when a lot of my real questions will come, if any. So.
I understand. Okay, cool. Well then, let's just, I think we're on tap to meet again in a week from today.
I think so.
Assume 10:30?
That's fine.
Yep.
Do about the same thing we did today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right, guys.
Thanks, Adam.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Talk to you later. All right.
Bye.
Okay, bye.